Earth debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, Click OK, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Get it on!
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Hey!
Hey. Well, it's good to be back. Nice weekend, hopefully. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
The assertion that a physical geometric obstruction exists requires Earth to be flat.
Yeah, it's a differential from eye level when measuring it with respect to surface level, given that both parallel with one another and you can calculate the difference when you raise an altitude. So you'll need a flat Earth for it.
Raise? You saying altitude?
Yeah.
Hold on, you're saying raise?
Yeah, when you go up
Well,
with
you can't
respect to
do
a
that on a
plane.
ball.
Yeah, when you go up with respect to the plane. So your height is your height eye level, and it's off surface level. It's right there in the mathematics. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
So, after the first question.
These are still things in 2024 that people believe in, Neil. We still have to keep house.
No.
Fair enough. How's everyone doing in Discord? You've all been a bit quiet this morning. Apart from one deck. Well, that's good to know. Fair enough.
I want to know who's going to violate one deck's list today, which is a brilliant one deck, I must say.
I do
that
like
one
that
day.
list. That's kind of what I do, is just listen for the trigger words and know what their meanings are. It's a nice list.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's not around at the minute. Hopefully get a rendition of it. Oh, I'm just going to close my window. I've got a man drilling right outside it. 1 second.
Did he add north, south, east, and west to that list yet?
When he arrives, I'll ask him. In the meantime, any evidence we can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? Don't all go
And
at
if you're a
once.
baller, well, I was just going to say, and if you believe you live on a sphere, is there any evidence you can have a gas pressure gradient that's not with respect to a horizontal plane of reference?
Yeah, the descriptions of the pressure gradient itself are with respect to a horizontal plane. So QE is right when he corrected me last time I used this argument without first identifying the antecedent consequent relationship that gas pressure to exist in the first place to then form a delta of a gas pressure gradient would require containment. So once that's been dealt with, the delta of gas pressure in containment can then be addressed as requiring a horizontal plane of reference to describe. So when I first took that on board, I went straight to it without first identifying the requirement of a container to form pressure. And Kiwi was all over it like flies on the proverbial, telling me you didn't actually identify that you'd need a container to have the gas pressure to deal with the gas pressure delta, that's a gradient, with respect to a flat plane. I'm like, yeah, but you need flat plane for it. Like, no, you need containment for it. Then you can describe it with your flat plane once it's formed gradiated pressure after being in containment. And I was like, I'm sure I mentioned it. I went back and listened, and no, I didn't. And you're like, yeah, don't whistle past the graveyard. You've still got to actually point out that the containment is required for you to form the pressure, to then form the gradient, to then describe it with a flat plane. But yes, we had in this instance already done that.
Even funnier than that, the concept that there is an area that gas is not filling requires Earth to be flat. So you could twist it that way, because their concept of space requires a flat plane.
Show me the dome.
I don't have to.
Also,
I can show you the gas pressure.
You just said there's gas pressure without containment is an impossibility. You're telling me there's containment, so you're saying there's a dome.
No, you didn't hear what I said. The idea that there is an area gas is not filling is a concept from a flat plane.
My God, your mic's awful, John. Making a horrendous amount of noise.
Yeah, I was just going to...
He was just going to say when he decided to drop abruptly in the middle of a sentence. Got some new slides. Decided to go up a resolution. So previously, when the show was running in 1080p, I would make a habit of making like a 380 or whatever the resolution that would match the resolution of the screen. But for ages, we've been running at a high resolution, 1440p. So there's no point in having a fairly low definition video running in the background as slides. So I've put a higher resolution one up. So not that anybody's going to give a toss that the slideshow that goes by on the show is slightly higher quality and a bit less fuzzy. But it is. I'm just letting you know. I have gone to that effort.
Is my mic any better? I'm sorry.
There's nothing wrong when you're talking. It's just as you open it or close it, there's this horrendous scratching, muffling, grumbling noise. So if you're opening it and closing it while Neil's talking, we get that noise through the top of what he's saying. Why you talking's fine.
Just done what you, sorry Nathan, I'm driving, but what you was just saying there about referring to the gas pressure gradient needed a level frame of reference to even talk about that gradient. Is that what you said?
Yeah, why? Did you want to add it to the list?
No, I was just not trying to dismiss. Something just came into my mind because I work with gas pressure and cylinders, and some of the cylinders I have are actually, they are spherical, say, with gas in them. So that hasn't got a level frame of reference to measure any gradient.
No.
I presume you could.
No.
You could still have a gradient.
No. How is atmospheric oxymoronic sphere-shaped air pressure described? What do they describe it with respect to?
the flat plane.
Yeah, but how? With what? What would they say?
Oh well, they would just say that the the air's wrapping around this supposed globe, right?
Yeah, but they'd give it in a certain measurement, wouldn't they?
So 760 toward the sea level, or
So there it is.
PSI.
There it is. Say it one more time.
760 toward sea level, or 14.7 psi.
Yeah, and it would change with that with a variation of what? If it's that pressure at sea level, the description of the varying pressure.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
yes,
so
I'm leading
then
you to tell us.
As you increase in altitude.
Altitude.
Of this supposed globe.
There it is.
Yes.
Well, how is altitude described?
Oh,
Sorry,
for
can you
flat
repeat that?
plane.
Just
Cut out.
one at a time. Angels, how is altitude described? If I was going to describe something's height, what would I give the measurement as?
From mean sea level.
Yeah, in feet with respect to sea level, or meters with respect to sea level. Yeah, so you need a flat plane to describe these pressure gradients, because that is precisely how they'll be described. Like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter if we're talking about weather or pressure gradients, it's all described off a flat plane, because Earth's measured flat. For everything. TVH says,
Yeah.
hello, Nathan. I enjoy every moment you was on Politics Server last Friday. It was so good. You kept me entertained all weekend. My stomach is still hurting from all the beratings. Thank you, Mr. Legend. Wow, thank you very much. Couldn't get much more complimentary to TVH. I'm blushing. Thank you for the super chat.
Also, the globals will argue, oh, but it's a pressure gradient, therefore, it gets thinner and thinner until it's space. Well, actually, it's not equalized. If you look at the ratio, so 761 over at sea level, which is our Earth, compared to their space vacuum, which is 10 to the minus 17 tall, that's an insane ratio that is not equalized.
Well, no, you almost whistled past the graveyard, but you expanded on it enough to make me think that you do understand what I'm about to say to you. At the point that you described your opponent's position as fading to a vacuum, that's a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation when they say that. The moment they say the gas pressure dissipates into a vacuum, no, gas fills space. Yeah. That's a violation of the second law when they say that.
Yeah, true. And also, how do you make a vacuum without a container again?
You don't.
Exactly. So it can't exist.
Well, yeah, but their dissipation into a gradiated vacuum, as they describe it, is the violation of the natural law that requires containment to form pressure, any pressure, regardless of if it's gradiated. Exactly. First, you get the containment, then you can form pressure within the containment, then you can form a gas pressure gradient within the containment. But in every instance, gas pressure always, without exception, will require a container to press upon to form pressure.
Yes. Yep. So even a pressure gradient, right. Yeah, they can invoke that, obviously, because it exists, but you still need containment to have that pressure anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. And remember, entropy dictates that heat rises with respect to a horizontal plane, and cold sinks with respect to a horizontal plane.
Yeah, and the reason why we have the gradient is because Earth isn't a static system. It's dynamic. It's always changing temperatures, right?
Yeah. But again, that's you explaining something that you don't need to. The only reason you're in this situation, you can explain why we have perspective. And you can explain why we have dynamic systems. But it isn't. It's an acceptance of the burden being flipped. If you're at that position explaining it. Now, you might, just to demonstrate that you do know what you're talking about, but it isn't necessary. That is to say, why are you explaining how gradiated pressure forms within a complex dynamic system? That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, because there's a claim that the sky is a bleeding vacuum. That's why. Is there anything ascribable to this? Most of the time, if you actually hear me in debate about this subject, you'll hear a few words come out of my mouth when this subject comes up. Have I made a claim about it? That's normally what you'll hear from me. Because I'm not going to defend this crap. I understand how gradiated dynamic systems work within pressure gradiated containment. Do I need to? No, it's filling up valuable space in my head. Like, understanding perspective. Shout out to Life is Short, one of my longest Patreons. Well, he has educated me in such a significant way that I can undo the Earth curve calculations with his education and knowledge. Fantastic that it was. Superlative, whatever the word is, research that he did. Second to none. And his way of educating me about it was even better. Patient, all the rest of it. However, with all that being said, hope I don't offend him. I don't need it. Once I realise, there's a point that you get beyond that you go, so I've learned this advanced knowledge about perspective, and I get to the point where that I recognise there isn't an Earth curve edge for a horizon, and how a flat Earth has been utilised by way of measuring it to derive mathematically this concept of an Earth curve below the surface level in mathematical Muppet vision. Well, at that point, I don't need any of the explanations in false dichotomy. Why I explain the horizon, I don't care. I don't need to. If I was to utilise the horizon, it would be to describe how we establish a horizontal plane of reference. It certainly wouldn't be to explain why boats disappear, because that serves no practical use. Now, for them, the globe numpties, their argument for how we've got an Earth curve comes with arguments that are self-fulfilling. They only serve one purpose, to prove that there's an Earth curve. Does it have any actual use? Does it have any practical use? No. So when we make our positive claims, they're life and death. Get this wrong, die at sea. Get it right, find your way home. As demonstrated, as utilised, as still used to this day. So there's the standards when I describe how the horizon's utilised for a flat plane of reference to measure for your survival. What's that? How useful is boats going over the horizon, whether or not I can debunk it with perspective or not? It isn't. All it does is affirm a religious belief. It doesn't have a practical use. Meanwhile,
yeah, and I mean, you saw the debate I had with all these pilots, or at least that ex-military pilot. These people are globers, treating the Earth as if it's flat and stationary, and they still think it's a globe.
Yeah. But as we're also hearing, more and more people are self-committing to the fact it's a belief. They'll ask you in return of their globe belief that they seem to understand they have, why you would believe in a flat Earth. Like, so what, in juxtaposition to your belief of a spherical surface derived from flat plane measurements? Well, I don't have a belief at all, but you've got a globe belief, and most of them realise it. Now, pilots can square that circle because it's a belief. Yeah, I believe Earth's a sphere. How'd you fly on it? Flat.
Columbus did the same, didn't he? You know, when he used his quadrant, you know, to measure angles to the stars to navigate the seas. He thought he was sailing round the globe, but he was measuring angles to move from A to B.
Yeah, he's measuring with respect to a plane, getting angles to stars off a plane, finding his location on flat maps that have been derived from those same angle measurements. So the world's being navigated and expanded flat, but then you ask the captain if it's a sphere and he says yes, and suddenly Earth's a sphere. You're like, no. Is it a tomato?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it a banana? Yep.
They're screwed. It's so over.
That was one of the lines that got a laugh in the comments. So some guy was like, I can wrap the latitude lines that are conceptual around my globe. You're like, I can wrap them around a banana.
Concave banana.
Yeah. That one gentleman demonstrated after you get the angles off a flat plane, you can put them around any shape you want. He demonstrated that quite well. Do you remember him?
Yeah, the way they
They're all doing it. Sorry, mate. They're all doing it. I had one yesterday or the day before, you know, on that conversation, and he was adamant that, well, it doesn't matter. You know, the latitude works on a globe, so it doesn't matter how it was measured. You can still use it and find your way around the globe. Yeah, but it's a flat Earth elevation angle, mate. That's how it's measured. Well, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. We can use it on the globe, and that's all that matters. That. He wouldn't move from it. They can't get their head around it. They don't want to accept it.
At that stalemate, I'd ask them, okay, well, if you're saying you can use it on a globe, where'd you get the globe measurements from? Yeah, it's the same place, isn't it?
I love when you do that, because then they are screwed.
Yeah. Also, correct me if I'm wrong,
Right, because
but when they
Hold on,
actually,
John. Yeah, Angels and John.
when they actually got the latitude from angles and longitude or whatever, is it true that they literally could have wrapped that around anything, any shape, and had it work? Like, say they put it around a diamond Earth, would it, like,
Yeah,
technically it would still
I've
work,
seen someone
right?
do it. Yes, to answer your question. We had one guy on that had all sorts of models where he took the base measurements, that's latitude with respect to Polaris angle measurements, and he put them onto all sorts of different shapes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, John.
I gotta see.
Yeah, calculation is meaningless, right? You need measurement, and your calculation can't contradict your measurement, or it's meaningless. Measurement is taking the conceptual unit and applying it to something you can reference in reality, and that's what you experience with your five senses. That's why it's so powerful.
Yes. It's an entirely different standard. It's no longer subjective. Not that
And that's why Danny Faulkner got stuck.
we even had a visit from Matthew Learns on Friday. Yeah, with a bit more organisation. When AJ's next around, I'll have a little chat with him, see what we can do, see if we can streamline it a bit.
Danny Faulkner, the guy with the deer in the headlights with Nathan Thompson, asking him, how do you have gas pressure without containment?
Nah, but the best was Adam. When Adam put his hand right to the fire, put his feet to the fire, and said, when you have to deal with something in reality, then what?
It's good in a way because I'm not going to necessarily say this is true. I'll ask Adam if this has a contributing element to it. But while you guys have been helping me edit my book, one of the reasons for the extremely high degree of spit and polish that's being put on this book, if you've got, let's just segue a little bit. This book's going to come out before the end of the year, right? It will eventually get finished. I'll probably announce it a bit hastily before getting everyone to read their way through it. But the standards elevated way, way beyond what I had expectations for this book, right? To the point where it's going to be a really high standard, like a reference book. Yeah? Well, to get it to that standard, it's taken things like Adam at least once saying, I'm not going to give a verbatim quote, but close enough. Danny Faulkner will be reading this book and he'll want to rip it apart at every missing full stop, right? Now, when I say that, I'm not inferring that the standards of polish are merely a typographical standard. They're not, right? It's the actual information that's going into it that's being polished up to a very, very high degree. Hence the extra time that's it's taking. Because at the point that I got everyone reading it, I was happy to publish it, as was my publisher. We were both happy, and we're like, well, have a read of it if you can find any spelling errors. And then we're like ripping up huge sections of it and rewriting it. Now that's perfectly fine because that's what you got to do if you're going to take a book to the next level. So yeah, if your expectations are high, good, keep them there. I'm not going to try and dampen them in any way, because even my own expectations have been sort of far exceeded in terms of what it's going to end up being, which is great. But that's taken to bring it back onto the subject matter in hand. People like Danny Faulkner writing a book, and then the reaction that we have had to his book, where we've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and laughed at sections of it, or pointed out the failings and the missing information that should have been in a certain section but weren't, or weren't referenced till page 86 when they were relevant on page 7. You know, things like that are all being heavily scrutinised in my book, which is great for me. But like I say, it takes someone like Danny to motivate Adam in that way, I feel, perhaps. I'll ask him.
I tell you what, the standard that I've seen from the couple that I've been in, the level of citation required to make any statement is past what you would expect in a peer-reviewed journal.
Yeah, where I've occasionally gone to Google, or maybe I've gone to Alternative by Design, QEs come along and go, no, this needs to be Harvard. I'm like, well, I haven't got a Harvard reference. Well, I'll get you one. You're like, oh, okay, well, suddenly you're like looking at these citations going, wow, the standard's gone up by a factor of 3, 4, 5x in terms of the quality of the references. Because, well, you probably know if you're an audience member, I'm quite lazy when it comes to references. I do have some, but on the whole, well, you know, I'll look them up on the fly if need be, and a lot of them were looked at by the publisher. So obviously these definitely didn't meet QE standards. He's like, no, there's better standards that you can not easily attain, that he could help me easily attain. I say I couldn't easily attain them, but he could.
Yeah, like when I just wanted to use their story, where I didn't have any primary source evidence for that claim, I couldn't use their story for how they come to believe it was a globe, or it's definitely a different level of claim.
Yes. It's hard to focus with the sub bass from your mic coming in as you started talking. Don't know what the hell's wrong with your mic. It's horrendous for the first 3 or 4 seconds. Like boom, boom, the whole room shaking. I'm like, bloody hell, what's going on? Anyway. So it did throw me slightly.
You're lucky you're his favorite. If it was me, forget it.
Well, it's one of those you say, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. I'm just crunching my arms on my chair, digging nails in. It's all good. Almost 100 people watching, 99 people watching. So thank you very much if you've shared the show. Please share it if you've not shared it already. The only reason we've got almost 100 people watching is because people share the show. So yeah, thank you for smashing the share button. My daughter informs me that if I say the words like and subscribe on the finished, rendered, edited, whatever, not edited, but finished, rendered live stream, when I say those words, it makes the thumbs up and subscribe button flash when you say like and subscribe. So I noticed it and I'm like, Eleanor, how'd you get this to work? Because I watched another YouTuber and, like I say, the like button flashed. I'm like, how do I make it do that? I want that. So she looked it up for me, and I'm reliably informed that just by saying it, the AI bots will catch that you're saying something that's so common that it's common enough for the AI to realise you've said it, take it out of the transcript, and then make those buttons flash when I say like and subscribe. So we'll see if it works. I've incorporated it into the intro. And new slides. There's a lot of new stuff going on Flat Earth Debate. It's all very exciting. He says, as there's no video to cover at about the halfway mark where I'd normally pick up a video. Has anybody got a video that we wanted to cover today? If not, we're going to be covering a boring lecture. I say boring, 10th man provided it.
I've got debates I did against 2 PhDs on Coriolis, which is pretty good, entertaining, if you want.
Yeah. Is anybody in the mod team? Can someone get it to me in Skype?
Yeah, of course, man. Angels of Light, just put it in the main text chat.
Cool. Can you stick it in Master B?
Yep, no worries, we'll do.
We did talk about this earlier, but I would like to actually show it. So, just make it a little bit more pretty. This is what we were referencing, or what Craig Click OK was referencing earlier. This is Level Earth Observer, or Leo. Tommy knew the globe was BS back in 2010. And I believe this is just the... Oh no, this is the full thing. This is 28 minutes or whatever long. So I'm going to share this so you can all have a look at Leo's exposure of this now, however many year old video. Very old. There it is. There's a link going by in the live stream chat to Level Earth Observer's video. Maybe we'll get into this as well. We'll have a look. But in the meantime, hopefully Mush will give us, what's it called? Angels of Light debate. Where was it published? Did you publish it yourself?
Yeah, I debated them on TikTok, then I put the video together. Yeah.
Okay, let's check it out.
It's in a Master B. It's in a Master B, Nathan.
I got it. Thank you very much. How do I make this? How do I make the sound? I've got the line closed.
And what happens?
Does the Earth rotate
almost immediately? You're going downhill
relative to the center, sure.
And so you get faster and faster.
Deviate like the merry-go-round?
If the world is round, every
horrendous. Sorry.
Not that
you can calculate the deviation force that you would have. Yeah, the Earth is really big. That's why the Earth's rotation rate, even though you keep citing this mystical number of 1,000 whatever.
Am I rotating with the Earth that I'm standing on?
Yeah.
Does the Earth rotate 1,500 feet in 1 second?
Relative to the center? Sure.
So how come the ball doesn't deviate like the merry-go-round? That's not that
You can
far.
calculate the deviation force that you would have, and when it's on the equator, the force will be, the force will be Zero.
Do you believe in Coriolis? Does the Earth have Coriolis?
Absolutely.
Oh, where?
What do you mean where? It happens everywhere on the Earth. It just depends on the direction that you throw things in.
Where's everywhere?
Whole globe.
Let's put a plane at the equator, and we're going to fly with the rotation of the Earth. We set the airspeed to be 500 miles per hour, so roughly half what the Earth rotates in an hour.
Right. Airspeed. Sure.
Yep. So does the plane moonwalk backwards now because it's going slower than the Earth?
No, but it's moving at 500 miles per hour airspeed, right? And the airspeed is roughly the same as ground speed.
Let's do a 180 with the plane, go against the rotation of the Earth.
Again, if your airspeed is 500 miles per hour, then your ground speed will be approximately 500 miles per hour. Again,
so in other words, the Earth relative to the plane is stationary, right? Please.
No.
When I land a plane on a north to south runway at the equator, do I have to chase the runway sideways?
Again, you're moving relative.
John, please, can you keep your mic closed? Because you're making this, this show's pretty horrendous with that sound constantly. It's still... It's awful. Yeah, you're opening your mic every time you do. It's just this horrible, horrendous, distorted sound. Okay, you almost had like the QE, the planes flying backwards. Did you have him in a position where he was only referencing it versus 500-mile-an-hour ground speed with the 500-mile-an-hour plane? So you've got him effectively stopping the plane, right?
Yeah. So basically, he's describing the Earth as stationary right now, and he can't admit it because But I did in other debates. I've had a person say, "Yeah, the plane would go backwards."
Yeah, it's one of QE's tricks. Excellent.
Oh, really? That's so funny. Because I came up with that myself as well. That's funny.
Yeah, it takes an exemplary understanding of Coriolis to take them there. I don't want to take people there. QE does. You do, obviously. I don't like it because it's too deep into the begging the question fallacy for me. But QE likes to play with his food. So do you, by the looks.
Relative to the air, and the air is roughly stationary relative to the ground.
So in other words, you're describing the Earth as stationary right now. Okay, check this out. If I hover a drone above a spinning merry-go-round, does the merry-go-round spin underneath the drone?
Okay.
No,
it doesn't, because the merry-go-round is not moving the air around it.
Okay,
that drone
so now,
is coupled to the air, which is coupled to the Earth rotation, not the rotation of the merry-go-round.
So no drift.
Yeah.
Is that where it goes?
Correct. So
right.
now if we
is that true?
Yes. So now
when you spin a merry-go-round, does the air around the merry-go-round swirl around and everybody starts to fly towards it?
Hang on one second.
No,
so
it did not.
Okay.
The merry-go-round is actually a good example of Coriolis. Try
This guy won't shut up. You're leading him.
to throw a ball somebody
because it's actually
in the merry-go-round across.
He will not shut up. What's his name? George Physics.
Jorge Physics, yeah.
Jorge Physics, you're being led. Yeah, this is prick behaviour by a prick who's going to get annihilated any second. But if I just keep jabbering on about your example you were leading me with, you won't get to the conclusion, right?
Lost away.
Yeah, so this is
Coriolis.
Yeah, you would get accused of talking through him, right? Even though it's your bleeding example, while he tells you what a great example of Coriolis and merry-go-round is. It's not your example, though, is it, Jorge, you asshole? Your opponent was leading you. This is just prick behaviour. People who are socially undisciplined. Yeah? Oh, I'm losing, so I'll take control of the example.
Yeah.
On
TikTok, it's a little crazy, though.
Sorry, say again, Angel.
Yeah, on TikTok, it's a little crazy. It's not as, how can I say, structured, but yeah.
Well, people just assume that I'm some evil man when I'll point these things out to the opponent when they do it. It's like, what, you've got to be passive when someone does this to you? Nah, man, I'll get properly aggressive with them and point out what they're doing. And as everyone around starts shouting you down and you take your very firm stance in the correct position, everyone suddenly deems you as evil. Like, no, this tactic won't fly. This edit that you've put together is the way it is because this guy has taken your example you were leading him with and started to tell you, the person making the example, what a wonderful example of Coriolis a roundabout is. At which point you're like, you're an unreasonable prick. Why would I even be having this conversation with you? because you don't want to listen to this example. You don't want to be led. You want to be telling me how wonderful my example is. To make your point with, I was making the example.
Equator, does it deviate sideways 1,500 feet every second?
It is going at the same rotation rate as the Earth. It is coupled to the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is rotating with...
How come Coriolis works on a rotating system but not the Earth?
It works.
Yeah, you had the win there. So no Coriolis. Asking him why there isn't one on Earth. It's like, no, that's your conclusion. So there isn't Coriolis on Earth because there's only one reference frame then. So no drift.
Yeah.
Works on the Earth. It's just Omega.
How long have you been doing this, though, Angels? How long have you been debating people?
The end of this year to be, the end of this year will be 2 years I've been a flat earther. So.
Right. So don't take what I'm saying the wrong way. I'm being hypercritical. The fact that you could lead somebody into the point where they're having to accept that the plane's basically stationary in the air, that's pretty high level, especially with Coriolis, which is a bugger to debate with. It's just because there's so many gaps where this George or Jorge guy can do what he did. Because it's complex, right? You've got to get an example with a framework laid down with the premise of a globe Earth turning or not turning, depending on if they're denying or continuing to claim Coriolis. And how you've got it positioned is all tentative and can be ruined by them just rumpusing you by telling you how wonderful a fucking roundabout is when you're making the example with it. So it can be all lost in terms of the mind's eye of the observer in the example, which can get complicated if you're not careful. And that delicate nature can be very easily upset by your opponent, which just annoys me. You know, when it happens, it annoys me on your behalf when it's happening and it's not even me doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but dude, like, it's such a simple concept, right? If the Earth is spinning and something's in the atmosphere, there should be a drift. It's that simple, right? If they claim the atmosphere just magically moves along with the Earth, there's no Coriolis. You're denying Coriolis every time you say the atmosphere just conserves momentum with the Earth so that it appears stationary. That's disproving Coriolis.
Yeah. So half the battle, in my humble opinion, obviously your journey's different to mine, is actually tying the opponent in the first instance to their claim. So I like to use things that are asserted to science by them, just for the double whammy of getting them to undo their own rhetoric of what they think science is as a bonus. But that's me. But in that regard, you go to Foucault or the gyro or the pendulum because it makes the claim for them. The gyro is claiming to deviate because it's on a separate non-inertial turning reference frame. The pendulum is claimed to drift and knock the dominoes over because it only moves back and forth and the Earth is claimed to turn underneath. That's the only reason it deviates, because pendulums don't deviate. Gyroscopes don't deviate. That's the principle they're employing. So what's the pendulum doing? It's just going back and forth. No, it isn't. It's knocking the dominoes over. No. That's because it's claimed Earth's a separate non-inertial turning reference frame moving underneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum to give the appearance that it's drifting to knock dominoes one after the next over. It's not. The claim is that it's drifting because Earth turns underneath as a separate reference frame. The moment they say, well, it's all moving together, well, no drift then, as you just identified. So like I say, the trick is to get them to tie themselves to two reference frames at the start of the process. Get them to define what they suggest Earth has as the claim it turns underneath, proven by their claim of Coriolis. So you have to kind of tie them down to that. But it's difficult because you're asserting their position for them, which some would say is a straw man if they don't understand it, because they're thick. But you're trying to lead them to make their own claim in the correct way, because half of them don't know their own bloody claim. So this is such a massive uphill battle. My hat is off to you for doing it.
Yeah, also, right, Nathan, what they try to do is they don't even know what Coriolis is. They redefine Coriolis on a globe. They say, oh, if I'm at the equator and I throw a ball to the Tropic of Cancer, then there will be a drift because it left my hand at 1,000 miles an hour and it's going to be at 700 miles an hour. Like, they don't even know what Coriolis is.
Yeah, we did a whole year of shows on this where we were defining the concept you've just tried to describe. It ended up getting a name. So when they redefine the rotation based on axial forces, that's globiolus effect. That's what we redefined it as.
Yeah.
They say it's
is
the
this any better on
conservation.
my mic? I'm
Hold on,
sorry.
they say it's well, at least your mic's not making a horrendous racket. They say it's the conservation of angular momentum. Go ahead, John.
I heard north, south, equator, and Tropic of Capricorn used. How do you measure those things?
With a flat plane, angles to Polaris, latitude lines. Tropics are measured with angles to the sun.
Then why are they appealing to them?
Because they're going to have to measure Earth flat to make their claims.
And
We
also,
all
they
measure
don't
Earth
even
flat.
know that.
Say again?
Yeah, they don't know it came from just angles.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, if somebody appeals to having conceptual latitude lines wrapped around a globe and won't concede that we can measure them, the only place you can take them then is to ask them where they got the globe measurements from.
Can't use angles on a globe.
No, well, they make the globe with the angles, don't they? That's the point. So where'd you get your globe from? Well, with these sticks and shadows or with Al-Biruni. And you're like, well, no, that's measuring a flat Earth.
Yeah, so if Al-Biruni did, was at the Black Swan location, what, would the Earth now be 250,000 mile radius?
No, 10th Man got it in the neck when this first came out for doing that. Yes, that is a natural consequence that, yes, you may highlight. You do have our permission. But again, you've got to first point out that what's Al-Biruni doing? He's doing a dip angle measurement. Well, what's a dip angle measurement? Hopefully it's given it away already in the fact that the word angle's in there. It's the same as the Earth curve maths. It's a differential from surface level that he measures the height of the mountains with respect to. So he's measuring the mountains off a flat plane, going up them, and then calculating the difference from that surface level, the dip that he perceives, from eye level. That's the dip. So what do you need to do that calculation of a dip? Well, you need the difference between the surface level that's flat, that gave you the height of the mountains, and the eye level that's parallel with the surface level that you measured flat to get the mountain's height off. When you go up the mountain and measure your height with respect to the surface level in feet or meters. So you've got quite a few flat Earth prerequisites in Al-Biruni's flat Earth measurement to suggest that you're on a sphere with a radius derived by differential calculations from surface level to eye level. Make sense? You need a flat Earth to be Al-Biruni.
Did you say go up the mountain?
Yeah. Everyone measures Earth flat. You won't find a spherical measurement example. There aren't any. There's only hijacking of flat Earth measurements and relabeling as Earth curve. But they're flat Earth measurements in all instances. Earth's measured flat. We get back onto Coriolis. There's only about a minute left.
It's denied it 6 times. So you're saying the atmosphere moves with the Earth? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the atmosphere is coupled to the Earth.
Because he just said that the Earth, the atmosphere is velcroed to the Earth. How come clouds move in all directions? And they're part of the atmosphere.
So relative to the ground, they're not moving that fast, but there are local disturbances in the atmosphere, man. We're not saying that the atmosphere is a rigid body. It is a gas. Right? This is a gas.
So again, does the helicopter velcro itself to the atmosphere?
The helicopter, when it is on the surface of the Earth, it is moving with the Earth. So it has that velocity, that inertia. So when you lift it up, it still has that velocity. It has inertia. It's going to stay.
Yeah, I can't play it with music on it. Okay. Yeah, you're into the weeds now with this guy. The moment he relinquishes the second reference frame, you just have to point that out. So no Coriolis then. Earth and atmosphere move as one? Yeah, you're right. How do we have north, south, east surface winds then? But ultimately there's no Coriolis, which is their claim. They must have 15 degrees an hour of deviation. If they don't, there's no claim proving that they spin.
You know what he told me?
Did you
Nathan?
notice
He
he
goes,
conceded?
I don't know, to go first, really. I'm going to go with John, because he's my favourite.
I was just going to say, did you notice that he conceded gas? That his atmosphere was gas in that?
Yes.
That was kind of fun. I giggled to myself when he did that.
Yeah, and it could have been a tangent Angels took him to. But at this point, I'm more inclined to focus on the fact that you've got the guy in the weeds. Yes, he's in a contradiction, but you need to cut his head off. So no Coriolis then. If Earth and atmosphere move as one, there's only one reference frame, isn't there?
Yeah. And like, this is what I was going to say. He told me, he goes, oh, but the Earth has been spinning for like billions of years. Therefore, it's like a blender. The blender doesn't start off spinning everything in it. It eventually catches up and just all moves together. I'm like, well, then there's no Coriolis.
And since the wind is moving with the Earth.
Yeah, I can't play with music on it. Anyway, yes, very good. I assume that's where you went afterwards. But yeah, I mean, considering you've only been doing this a couple of years, you certainly with Coriolis, you're extremely advanced in your argumentation.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Cool. Was there another one that we wanted to watch? It was the Level Earth Observer video, wasn't it?
Is the world round?
I've already got this queued up somewhere else, I think. Here we go.
You should be getting faster and faster.
Turn your media player off, whoever this is.
However, in the test,
Turn your media player off.
I must have to. Sorry, Tommy. I'll switch off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't listen to this.
Gone.
What? He's gone. Call back. Skype back. You can Skype us on play.radio.uk, but turn your media player off so that you're listening on Skype. Otherwise, what you hear, which is being broadcast, is...
Sound familiar? Be sure to mute the page you are currently watching. Right? I say it in every intro.
a couple of seconds behind what you hear on Skype. Okay, but try again. 50 quid to anybody who can prove to me that the world is round right now. Between...
Right away, I hate his phraseology. Yeah, round and flat are not mutually exclusive. You can have a flat round penny.
Now and, well, the course of this show. And what I'm on about here is trusting your own judgment and trusting your own perception and not falling back on what you get told by...
half right.
That's not a true dichotomy either.
No. Yeah, that's what I said, half right. It's like, yeah, don't believe what you just told. But perception, no, we've got measurements.
Yeah, but the flat or round, it's flat or curved. If you want a true dichotomy, that's what it would be.
And here's the phrase that everyone uses, the powers that be. In this case, it's academics and scientists.
This is straight up feast of nonsense so far. Before everyone else, he's peddling feast of nonsense into the ether of the public, isn't he? Through talk radio.
If you'd been born 500 years ago, then you would have stuck to what you know, the world is flat. Pictures from space show the world to me to look like a disc, a flat disc. Does planet Earth...
He just said, pictures from space to me make the world look like a flat disc. Straight up, controlled opposition narrative. This guy's a shill, straight up shill. He's pumping in the flat version of Feast of Nonsense pre-25... when did everyone start arriving here? 2014?
2014, yeah.
So 2010, he's pumping it right into the ears of everybody who's listening to this in just the right way to have the Feast of Nonsense come out the other side 5 years later.
From space, look to you as if it is round. Assuming the pictures were taken from outer space, there are plenty of people who believe that the whole business of going to the moon and even going into outer space, which is getting beyond the atmosphere, has never happened.
See? It's seeded with the idea that you can go beyond the atmosphere. So we're retaining the idea that there's atmosphere that we can go beyond, and it's just whether or not anybody's gone beyond it. What, beyond the sphere-shaped air oxymoronic atmosphere? It's just whether or not they've gone there. Whether or not they've gone to the moon. Space is still real. Atmosphere is still real. It's just whether or not anyone's gone beyond it. This is pure feast of nonsense.
And the photos are all faked. Whether they're real or whether they're fake, the pictures of Earth from space do not look to me...
See? It's about whether or not the pictures are real. From space, pauses. They've definitely got a space then, Tommy.
The space that violates natural law?
Yeah. But he's arguing about whether or not the pictures from that second law of thermodynamics violation area of volume that the area he's calling atmosphere would all be dissipating into are real or not. So we can argue about whether or not they're real pictures in Narnia, where no one's going and no one can go because it's a place that isn't real. But in this narrative, it's real, and we're just into the false dichotomy of whether or not the photos are real, the cameras are real, the rockets are real. This is the genesis of the current wave. People like Tommy putting out the feast of nonsense. Now, no offence to Level Earth Observer if he thinks this is good. Check it out. Look how wonderful Tommy is. He knew back then. No. Half the false dichotomy arguments are starting here by the looks of things. He's predating me.
To be a picture...
Yeah,
Go on.
I'm just going to say, it sounds like he invented the feast of nonsense.
This is straight up from the Flat Earth Society. If you're going to control the opposition, you've got to lead it. So you start up the arguments that benefit you the best if they're argued about. Keep the people arguing about them. Have neutral outcomes as the only outcome. Retain all of the main parts of the heliocentric religion, as long as the basis of it is retained in both arguments. Pizza pie floating up in a sky vacuum. Like this guy just said he saw pictures of from space. The way Tommy phrased it, he'd seen a pizza pie in space. That's what he said. Lying shit. But he put that lie in there, didn't he? So 5 years before, he's so bold as to tell you that he saw a pizza pie from space. And then go on to question whether or not the pictures from space that we do get are real or not, when he's told you he saw a pizza pie from there. Like I say, I don't know if Level Earth Observer thinks this is good. I haven't read his narrative and his editorial below, and there's no comment from him. He's just playing it unedited, which is fine. But I don't deem this as good. Shout out to Free, who became a member. Really appreciate it. And us so far for hitting the super chat. You can offer this FE video analysis as service for FE YouTubers who would like to pay for lessons to sharpen their FE debating skills. Guitar teachers offer lessons for students in the same fashion. What you're doing is suggesting that I should give the equivalent of guitar lessons for flat earthers. Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you for the suggestion.
Oh, I actually was thinking about that too. Like, I was hoping when I joined Flat Earth, like if there were Flat Earth coaches, honestly.
I wouldn't feel right doing that. If someone was to suggest to me, if halfway through that, I thought he was going to go on to say something like how to run a good YouTube channel or how to do good transitions and keep a live stream running nicely and smoothly or something like that. When he was like sharpen their FE debating skills, I don't see a practical application for that beyond what I'm doing right now. I can turn a profit from it. I can make my mortgage payments disappear almost each month by doing this. So yeah, from that point of view, in a very, very limited, hard-working, having to slog my guts out capacity, I can turn it into some financial remuneration for the work that I do in that regard. Now, if I train someone how to play a guitar, I personally can tell them spots where they can apply to the council to play that guitar and earn money from it and earn a living. Now, if I do the same and say, come to my School of Flat Earth, shout out to Mitchell from Australia, and you will learn how to debate Flat Earth and win, and I give them the very best arguments, what for their coin do they get? where do they turn that investment back into money? I'd feel like I was robbing them.
Well, you're not offering them something that they can gain monetarily, but you are offering them the peace of mind of being able to win arguments.
They can have that for free. Just watch my ads. Give me a super chat. You know what I mean? Like I so far did. You know, if you would consider that you are that student, I'd rather offer it, not because I've been pressured by people who say that the truth shouldn't be monetized. I don't believe in that either. If I wanted to put all this behind a paywall, I could. I'm just not so inclined, because I want popularity. I'm a YouTuber. I want to gain subscribers and show people that I'm earning a living from the ad revenue. I mean, I'm nowhere near that now. I rely on so far super chats. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. But that's the remuneration I seek, and that's what I get. And the education is offered from all and sundry who have done the research, who stand shoulder to shoulder with me while I'm doing the live shows. But as for offering it as a service, even I could argue, no one's going to like this, that I'd be better off teaching them heliocentrism so they could at least pass an exam and then put it on a whatever you do before you've got a resume that you go to a job with, a CV, right? At least you could, if I taught you how to understand and regurgitate heliocentrism, you could pass an exam with it. It's got some, in the modern society, useful application that might be recognised. Peace of mind.
Right, but how are you...
Go on.
How are you going to teach them heliocentrism without the measurements?
That's advanced heliocentrism. You don't need that to pass an exam. You might need it to navigate. I mean, I'm nowhere near or inclined to get qualified to teach people how to navigate with celestial navigation. I can regurgitate the basics to demonstrate my point quite easily and happily with a very limited understanding. But would I train, as my sister did, on how navigation works and then functionally put it into practical application on a boat? No. Would I do that and then further to that learn how to train others in it? Definitely not. But that's, again, what I could use flat Earth by extension for something that has got a useful practical application. But that's not called flat Earth, that's called celestial navigation, that ipso facto uses a flat Earth.
You could create your own exam for flat Earth.
But for what?
Well, you're writing a book, and you could extrapolate that into an exam if they take the book and learn everything.
I don't know. This stands so far against what I'm for. You know, if I was employing somebody, I've done recruitment. I was a recruitment consultant for a number of years, and what I needed from a potential temporary employee is for them to show me that they have done what I need them to do, that they have experience in doing that. Now, the capability of potentially learning how to do it under training isn't what I used to require as a temporary consultant. Now, if someone comes to me with a qualification that shows that they have the capability of passing an exam, I don't care. Can you do this Excel task for this person that needs it doing while this person's on holiday? You can, then I will pay you to do that. You can't, then sling your hook. So where is the practical use for the flat Earth exam? There isn't one. Now, I know there's going to be... Go on.
There's many exams that have no practical use. The point is, it's an exam. I was just basing that on the fact you said, well, you could teach heliocentric to pass an exam, so why not do it the other way around? Make your own exam.
Because I'm not part of a governing body of examiners that would be recognised in a GCSE type standard or an A-level or higher standard. And if it was, then it would be absolutely worth doing. If there was a qualification in something that was attributable to flat Earth in the title, and it was recognised, like you say, you don't necessarily need something that's useful. There's plenty of people out there with history on their CV when they're doing masonry or whatever. There's something that's got sod all to do with it. But they just show that they're capable of learning with their qualifications. Now, if flat Earth happened to be on the list and was recognised and governed by a proper examining board, then yeah, would I be a flat earth teacher? Probably not. My dad was a teacher. It drove him nuts. No thanks. But I could see how others might. And if I can therefore potentially offer training that would get somebody closer to passing that exam that could be recognised and potentially might assist in them getting a job, then yeah, I could then see the argument for doing it. Man, this is a superb value that you got out of your 10-buck super chat there. It's developed about 10-15 minutes of discussion so far. Thank you again for the 10 bucks. Also, shout out to Phoenix Rising 86, who gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much indeed. I'm all for putting things into practical application, though, and, I can argue the toss about how Earth is flat with celestial navigation and put really severe implications on those facts, like life and death implications.
Yeah, but you do it every day in the show. People could get it for free. I consider myself a flat Earth student.
Yeah. And I'm a total whore. For a few quid, I'll drive halfway across the country. I did last week.
How about you could create the exam as multi-guess or multiple choice, as some people prefer it?
I don't know. The idea that you have to be, coached in something that will give value, I don't know. That just doesn't seem. I don't see how you're connecting that. Education has its own intrinsic value, and if you're teaching them something that they didn't understand prior, then there's value in that. I don't see why you're denying that.
I'm not denying it. I'm just saying I'm more happy to do it in the way that we are doing it. Shout out to JMiles24. He says, "Oh, Nathan, knock it off and just put a test at the end of the book. If they fail, they die. If they pass, they may continue to live out a beautiful life on flat Earth. Simple."
That's a good idea.
If they pass, they die. That's very funny. If they fail, they die, I should say. But yeah, very amusing. Shout out to Duncan McLeod. I would send my kids to public school just to troll the science classes and science teachers. I got some funny super chats today. Thank you very much for all the support. Very good. Okay, I think I'm going to round out on that note. Unless there's anything else anyone wants to add before we go to the after show.
Is my mic sounding better?
Miles better, yeah. It's not making a horrendous noise. You listen back to the first half of this show. It was terrible. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a massive thank you for all of you liked and subscribed, commented, hit the bell notification icon, shared, subscribed, smashed the super chat, hit me up on PayPal and Ko-Fi and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.